Okay, so I went on to got my interfacing and my warden to my front, okay, to my center front and my side front. So I'm just going to flip it this way, placing it front facing front, and I will take it to my machine and I'm going to join, okay. So I'm going to place it front facing front this way. Remember the point where we notch for our styling? That is where we're going to join at, okay. So here is my lining piece. I went on to gum my hard interface into it, okay. So I went on to join and this is what we have, okay. So I went on to iron it and that is it. So if you check here, you will see where the joining ended, okay, at this point, and that is where our styling ended. You can see, okay. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is to set it aside and bring in our lining piece, which I also went on to join, okay. So I also stopped at the notches we have around the styling on the hem, okay, and this is what it looked like, okay. So the next thing I went on to do is to close my back, my side, and my the both side with my lining piece and also my zipper allowance, and I close my zipper allowance with a loose stitch, okay. So I turned the back neckline because I didn't attach I didn't add any plain fabric there. So I went on to come down from my waistline to sew my dart. So you can see I didn't sew my dart to the end, just as I stated, and I went up by 7 inches, which is my chest line, and sew it there, okay. So come down by your down from your waist, and that should be where your dart should end. So I proceeded to closing my zipper allowance with a loose stitch because we are going to open it later to attach our zipper. So I didn't turn the hemline because remember we're going to be replacing it with a sequence fabric, okay, but I turned the neckline, okay. So you can see the hem, I didn't turn it. All right, so that is it. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is to bring in my fronts, and I am going to be placing my lining piece on my front. I am going to be turning the sides, okay. I won't be turning the neckline and the hemline, only the side. Then I went on to turn this our plain sequence that I will cut out with my lining piece. So I'm going to place it this way on my neckline, okay. So this is how it's going to be after sewing, okay, but that is not how we're going to place it. So we're going to place it on the wrong side of the main fabric and turn, okay. So I went on to join it. So I'm trying to explain to you here what I did. So I placed it this way. This was how I placed it, and I sew. So the right side of the sequence was facing the wrong side of the fabric, okay. That is the lining of the fabric after joining with the lining, okay. So I joined, and after joining I went on to notch and top stitch. So after notching and top, I'm just going to flip it this way and turn it over so you can see what we have. You can see what we have. So that is how you are going to place it, okay. So I went on to also turn the other side at the close to the armhole line, okay. So this is what we have, as you can see, and it's laying comfortably on the front part. So I went on to bring the back part, and I'm going to be placing right side facing right side, and I will join the shoulder, okay. So after that we're going to cut our sleeve, okay. So I went on to join my shoulder, and this is what we have, okay. You can see how beautiful our blouse is looking already. So I'll pick up my tape and I'll measure what we'll have on the armhole line, okay. Whatever we get, that is what we're going to use to cut out our two-step flay sleeve, okay. So pay attention, you will also learn how to cut a two-step flay sleeve if you don't know how to do so. So I have this fabric here, and the length is 19 inches, okay. The length of this fabric is 19.5, and the width is 10 inches, that is on fold. So I'm going to refold it this way, okay. I went on to refold it this way, and I'm just going to make use of everything here for my sleeve length, okay. So I'm just going to measure and mark round to get a circle, okay. So I'm marking a circle according to the sleeve length that I want to use, okay. So that is what I am marking. I'll just mark it round to make a circle, all right. So I was not marking, I'll just cut out And after cutting out, I am going to mark on the midpoint, then open it up. So here is the midpoint, and I'm just going to open it up this way. Okay, so you see what we have there. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure what I have, and I have 10 there. So here I'm going to divide what I have into 2 and mark on the midpoint. Okay, so here is the midpoint, and on this midpoint line I am going to measure 0.5 inches. Then on the initial midpoint I also measured another 0.5 inches. I hope you understand. Then I'm going to measure in 2 inches from this end. Okay, I'm just going to measure 2 inches. Then down here I will measure 1.75, and I'm just going to connect from both 0.5 inches that I measured. Okay, so you see the way I connected it. So after making this connection, I'm going to pick up my tape and measure it to see if I have exactly what is on my armhole. Okay, so I'm just going to measure it round, and it should give me what I have on my armhole line. Okay, so it gave me exactly the 10 inches I have, and I'll proceed and cut out. Okay, so this is actually the easiest way to cut out your flay sleeve. It's the most simple way. Okay, so you can see what we have. Okay, the length is there and everything is just perfect. In fact, if you'd have not been using this method, you have been missing the simplest way. Okay, so I'm going to measuring where I want the shorter sleeve to be. So I want this one to be longer than the shorter sleeve by 3 inches. So I'm just going to be marking that 3 inches at the upper part. Then the downside I'm going to reduce it to 2 inches. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. This other smaller part I made it 2 inches, then the upper part I made it 3 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be measuring from the beginning, that is the armhole line, to see what we have. So you can see I have about 7 inches, 6 inches there. Okay, so I have about 6 inches. So remember the length of this sleeve was 9 inches. Now I subtracted 6 inches, I subtracted 3 inches, I have 6 inches. So I went on to cut the small one, which is 6 inches, and the second part of the big one, which is 9 inches, and I have both of them 2 each. Okay, that is 4, 2 small one, 2 bigger one, and I cut my lining piece as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to pick up the lining piece, and I'll go over to my machine and turn the hem. Okay, I'm going to turn it down, and I'm going to do it on both all the sleeve, and after that I'll fix it. Okay, so this is what we have. I went on to fix it. Remember, it's 2-step. You can see it's 2-step flay. That is a kind of 2 layers. Okay, so I was done fixing it, and this is what we have. So I went on to flip it on the wrong side, and at this point we are going to be joining our bodice. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and use my measurements to join. So I was done joining, and this is what we have. Okay, you can see what we have. I was done joining, and you can see the styling on the hem is coming out already. It's looking cute already. All right, so this is how beautiful and easy this blouse is. I went on to open my zipper allowance at this point, and the next thing we are going to do is to mark out where we are going to cut out and replace with the sequence fabric. Okay, remember the style we have there, we have a replacement there. Okay, so even if you don't want to replace it, it is already looking very fine. It's just an individual preference. Okay, so over to where we have the curve, I'm going to measure in 2 inches, and I'll measure that 2 inches round the whole hem. Okay, I'm going to measure it round the whole hem. All right, so I was done measuring. I measured and marked it round, as you can see. Okay, I measured 2 inches. So if you want yours to be wider than this, you can make it 2.5 or 3. So you can see I proceeded to mark all of them and measure. So after that, I sewed on the line where I mark. Okay, so as you can see, this line, I already run a stitch on it to hold it down. Okay, to hold the lining and the main fabric when I cut. Okay, So I proceeded to cut out, and as you can see, the lining and the main fabric are still well held because I sew it with my machine on that line that I mark. So I proceeded to place it on my main fabric, on my sequence fabric, and I cut out, and I added about 1 inch allowance. Okay, added 1 inch allowance so that I can have a joining allowance for both the upper part and the down part. Okay, so I'm going to unpin, and after unpinning I will cut out my lining piece for this sequence. Okay, I'll cut out my lining piece for it. All right, and also made indication on the part that is for zipper allowance because I think one side of this place is open. Okay, is a kind of slitted, so I'm going to join it with my machine. So I'll go over to my machine and turn the down, and I'm going to attach it. So you see the way I pin it, it is so that I don't get confused. So I proceeded to turn the hem with my lining piece, and I cut it out and I attach it. Sorry. Okay, so this is what we have. So I will open it up. You can see this is where I attach it, and I have not sewn the lining on it. I just attach it on my main fabric. So it was only the down part of the sequence that I turned. Okay, so you can see this is what we have. Okay, so that is what you can do as well. So you can see the lining piece. I'm going to just flip it on top and sew it neatly on top. Okay, and I'm going to sew it on this the line I initially joined the boat so that it lays flat. Okay, so that is what I am going to do. So I'm just arranging it, after which I'll pin it down and join it, and I'll bring it back for us to see. And I'll also attach my zipper after that. Okay, so I went on to sew the lining piece on top, and this is what we have. Okay, so I want to turn it to show you what we have. So you can see what we have. I also attach my zipper as I earlier noted. Okay, then I also went on to remove my pins on the asymmetric neck, and I'm going to hand tag that point. So you can see the back, you can see my zipper that I attach. You can see how everything is looking so cute and beautiful. I really love the blouse. Like, I love it. I love it so much. So if you have watched to this point and you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Hit on the like button and get notified whenever I upload, and like it and drop a comment for me. So this is the outcome of our blouse. This is how cute it is. You can see how beautiful it is, and the look is breathtaking. Thank you so much for sticking by. See you next when I drop another tutorial. Bye.